play Gran Turismo 2, episode 55. Alrighty then, so we are now 6 out of the 7 sections of arcade mode down, and all we need to do now is move on to our 7th and final section of arcade mode, which is the orange section. As the courses we are going to for the races are Test Course, Deep Forest and Rome Heights, which is a course I have not officially been able to show off in the race events because, well, in simulation mode the only way you can officially get Rome Nights is, well, basically in the one-leg races, pretty much. And also, furthermore, we've got 3 dirt tracks we can set our lap times on, as well as also Autumn Ring, which is probably something I will be doing. But anyways, let's head to our first race, which is at Test Course. And well, because this is Test Course, something is telling me that essentially I have to drive one of the drag cars for this event. Just find it. Here it is. And I'm going to drive this, the HKS R33 Drag GTR, for the first race at Test Course. And the reason for that is, well, something is telling me that, well, I effectively have to drive this car just for this particular course, at least one of the drag cars. Well, since I've already seen the 180SX, I decided I was going to be different and just use the R33 instead, because I want to. And I would imagine I'll probably blitz the competition, as the only other race car we have in this is the Cobra Daytona. And I am already off to a very much shining start, as I am already up into the lead. And oh Jesus, yep, okay, this thing is loose. I think I've got control of it now. Almost felt about as loose as pretty much trying to control and the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to lose too much speed. The one thing I have discovered with this car is that, well, it can go very high up into the bankings, and obviously that's essentially when you know very well you're virtually close to death. And yep, I think I've just reached the max speed. Yep, okay. And I have no idea why I shifted down into 5th, but I just did. Probably because I didn't want this car to flip in midair, which is probably what would have happened, but fortunately on this occasion it did not. Also, furthermore, I have definitely reached my max speed for this thing. As I'm stepping on the brakes into the corners, because that's literally how easy it is for this thing to become sketchy. That's precisely what this thing is, BTW. Meanwhile, as I thought I was going to do, I've virtually blitzed the competition by 4.4 seconds over Ballistic Storm. Then it was Advantage in 3rd, followed by the Cobra Daytona in 4th, the Viper was 5th, and at the back it was the Jag. So yeah, also the reason why I chose the R33 over the 180SX as well, because this is one car I do not get to race in simulation mode, and well, I figured in a way I might as well drive the R33 because, well, there really isn't any other place I can test it. But anyways, one race is down, and there is still 2 to go. And as for the rest of them, well, I'm basically going to be driving Class S cars. And as for the car I'm going to use, well, I really want to use the Daytona, so that's coincidentally what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the Daytona for this next race. That's precisely what I'm going to do for this next one. Because something is telling me I really do want to use the Daytona. I really do. So we've got a Lister Storm in this field along with the Clio. A Viper is also in this field along with the Venturi, and then we have the Roof at the back. As I am getting tons of wheel spin off the start. But again, because this thing is a race car, obviously I am more or less expected to claw my way up the order almost virtually no problem at all, as I'm already up into the lead. Here at Deep Forest, already clawing myself up into the lead in what is very much an American muscle car, which is precisely what this thing is. As of which in my room right now, I'm currently farting a lot. But anyways. So just figured I would drive this thing because, well, I want to. As of which, I am now only one circuit away from officially completing the arcade mode, as I am constantly being disturbed pretty much inwards and outwards, but well, if I do plan on re-recording this in the future, then hopefully that will not be as much of a problem. By the time I've eventually managed to get my own space, possibly even my own house if I'm lucky, in the future when I decide to re-record this, and I will do obviously, because this game is great. This game is a legend. As I am very much driving my American race car for Deep Forest. Also because furthermore, I do actually feel like I want to do this in favour of Carol, as both myself and the Lister are currently pulling away from the rest of the field, and at the back as usual, it is obviously. The Lister is getting closer, but I wouldn't think it will be enough whilst at the back. It is still the Clio. As I now head across the line to completing Deep Forest. The Cobra Daytona wins at Deep Forest. I won by 1.1 seconds over the Lister Storm, who is now right up my ass. And so the Venturi Atlantic was third, then it was the Reef in fourth, followed by the Viper in fifth, and then at the back it was once again the Clio. Which I'm so glad is a car that I only used in simulation mode and not in arcade mode. But you know, it is what it is, I guess. That's all I can really say. But yeah. 2 races down, 1 to go. as I believe that is at Rome Knight. Well, as for the car I'm going to use, well, I'm going to use another car I unlocked, and that is basically this, the TBR Tuscan Speed 6. For the final race in arcade mode, we are going to Rome Knight. This is attempt number 3 of a TBR Tuscan trying to win the night race at Rome. Because I am a fucking incompetent dumbass who does not know how to properly drive cars. And is sincerely hoping he can actually correct himself this time from the mistakes he made in the previous 2 attempts. As I have clearly given myself what probably seems to be an incredible challenge. Except by process of elimination, it really isn't, because the only real problem is me. Because I cannot drive this course. And, well, at least it'll make it easier knowing the Vector is not in this race, nor is the Cobra Daytona. Even though obviously that wasn't even the car itself. That was clearly me that fucked up in that attempt. I clearly take the blame for what I did in my previous attempt because I made 2 huge mistakes on the second lap, which ultimately costed me the W. And I'm really hoping that this time, the 3rd time will be the charm, considering this is officially my 3rd attempt of doing this. Here on the Rome Knight course, where I'm hoping I can finally give myself some redemption for what I did in the previous two attempts. I would hardly forgive myself for, but anyways. I am leading the first lap, and I do actually have an interval to these AI at the moment. Whilst I've noticed the Lister is currently behind me. And at the moment, of course, I am managing to hold on to a relatively slim lead, but at the very least I am actually leading the race this time and not in second. But it looks like I'm basically gonna have to fucking torpedo myself into the Lister once again in order to be guaranteed for the victory. May my TBR emerge victorious this time. And hopefully learn to not choke. Come on, don't choke, come on, please don't choke. Come on. Okay. Still in the lead, I'm still in the lead. Don't choke. Come on, please don't choke. Okay. I think I've got the interval, but just to be certain, I am holding on to the inside line. And hopefully this time I can do it. Come on. Thank God. Well, took me 2 failed attempts, but I got there eventually. I won at Rome Knight by just about 0.2 of a second. over the CTR2, then it was the Aston Martin V8 Vantage in third, so a double podium for the Brits, even though the Lister is technically a Brit, but he eventually finished in fourth. Then it was the Viper in fifth, and at the back, as per usual, it was the Clio. But there we go! I also have no idea why they actually put the V6 Clio in Class S, but whatever. It is what it is, I guess, but I don't know why they opted to do that, because I would say it's more likely to be a Class A car rather than Class S, but whatever. It is done. The circuits are now done, and all we need to do now are the time trials at the remaining circuits. First off, I'm heading to time trial, and I'm going to head down to Class B to drive the car I have not driven yet, and that is this TT. Because I've been thinking about it and I haven't really been able to do it yet, so let's give it a shot, as we are going to Autumn Ring Mini, which I'm fairly certain is a circuit I probably have raced on in simulation mode, but again, I don't know for sure, because I don't remember these things very well, but well, because of how short this circuit is, I decided I was just going to use the Audi TT, you know, just for possible shits and giggles. Because I wanted to. Also, because furthermore, I do not have to deal with the pressure of actually winning the race. So this is basically the final tarmac track in time trial mode, considering the other circuit that does not appear in the races is technically in motorsports land. And I'm already 8/10 clear of my first lap delta time so far, and well, because I slammed on the brakes through here, I would say obviously this is where my lap time will improve considerably, as I am now 3.45 seconds clear of my ghost, and there we go. My second lap time precisely 4 seconds quicker. And well, the reason why I chose to use the TT, well, mainly because of how short this circuit is, and also because, well, I didn't really see any point in me using a race car, so that's all I just decided to do instead. And well, now we can head up to our remaining rally courses. So I think for the first one, I'm going to be traditional and probably use this older Impreza, because there's something that's telling me I kind of feel like I want to use this machine for Tahiti Dirt Route 3, you know, just for the first race, sorry, for the first track, because I feel like it. And then after this I can probably use the newer one, and then I'll end up using the Lancia Delta for probably the final one, essentially. At least it's what I think I'll do, but we'll wait and see. Because, well, I think this is probably the older model of the Impreza, because I'm fairly certain this is more likely to be the 95 model than it is the 98 model because... Sorry, the 99 model because I'm fairly certain this version of the Impreza in particular was driven probably by Colin McRae, but again, I don't know for certain. At least I think it's Colin McRae, but you know, I just figured I'd give this thing a run and maybe see what I can do. As I'm just suddenly sliding my way into the walls, and that's how you fuck up a lap of Tahiti Dirt Route 3 Reverse, which is precisely what I did. But anyways, I'm very much keen to make amends on my second lap, which is what I have managed to do in all of my arcade mode sections so far. And so heading across the line I go to completing lap 1. And I'm already on course for setting what looks like being a much more decent lap this time. Well, I'm thinking about what car I should probably use next, and well, something is telling me I should use the Escort. And oh my god, I still ended up in mid-air somehow, but I could have easily gone a lot worse than I thought it was going to go. It could have easily gone like that, where I just suddenly end up losing control after landing on the ground, and then I suddenly end up seeing myself spinning into the wall, which is basically what I did on the previous lap. Probably even into the fence as well, but you know, it is what it is. As I am now 10.7 seconds clear of my delta time, and across the line I go. It is a 1:40.7 at the end of my second lap. So, not exactly a pleasing effort, but I suppose at the very least it is an effort I will accept, in spite of me just literally crashing in midair. And also, correction, this is actually the 96 model of the Impreza. So, I thought this version of the Impreza was probably driven by Colin McRae, but, well, I just wasn't sure on what the year was. But yeah. One rally track down and still 2 to go. Let's drive the Mini. Okay, well, fuck it, I'll drive the Lancia for this next one, which is Wicked Mountain North Reverse. Because I want to. Also, because furthermore, I don't feel like I want to drive anything else for this course right now. If I could, then I would. But again, for now at least, it's just an instinct I follow. And I ultimately just decided I was gonna drive this car because I wanted to. Also because I really cannot ignore this classic Martini livery. that was used on this Lancia for the 92 championship, when it was subsequently this car that won pretty much the last of Lancia's 6 consecutive Constructors' Championships during the Group A era of the WRC. Considering obviously the last time Lancia had won a Drivers' Championship was, ironically, I believe in 1991 with Juha Kankkunen, who was respectively the driver who last won a Drivers' Championship for Lancia in 91, even though essentially overall it was also his 3rd Drivers' Championship overall, because he won his first one for Lancia in 87 and he won his second one for Lancia in 91, and I think as far as I know he won the championship again in 93 as well, if memory from research has served me correctly. And already I'm off onto a much quicker lap. Unless I hit the wall. Then I am not. But meanwhile, at the moment I am currently quicker than my Ghost. By just over 1¼ seconds. So I am now 1.8 seconds clear of my Ghost, since surprisingly I did not set a shitty lap on my first lap. Even though some of you may think my first lap was a shit lap. Well, it just wasn't as shit as many of the laps I've set before, but there is that. Plus, furthermore, I could also set a 3rd lap if I really wanted to, but well, because I'm lazy, I just cannot be bothered to do that. But anyways, 3.6 seconds quicker than my previous PB. Even though I could have gone a lot quicker if I wanted to, but I just cannot be bothered. But anyways, 2 circuits down and still 1 to go, and then arcade mode is officially complete. As I'm just rubbing my eyes and accidentally making contact with my microphone. My rather miniature microphone, but again, still a microphone. As we only have 1 circuit left, and that is the Pikes Peak downhill. And to anyone asking what the Pikes Peak downhill is, well, it's basically the Pikes Peak hill climb, but it's only in reverse. And well, as for the car I want to use, I'm kind of thinking about what manufacturers I haven't used yet. I mean, I thought about using the Citroen Saxo, but again, I'm wanting to set something reasonable, so I ain't gonna use that. I'm kind of thinking about using the Tigra, in my honest opinion, but I'm also thinking about using the 80s Celica. You know what? Fuck it, I'll use the Opel. For our 9th and final dirt course in arcade mode, which is the Pikes Peak downhill. And then that will officially be arcade mode complete. From here. As I'm just sipping my water. Also because, well, this is a car I've not officially driven yet, and already I have fucked up the run. And still, fucking hell, this thing is quick. This thing is definitely quick. There is no doubt about that. And that's a wall. And short shifting, because why not? As I am officially getting myself through the remains of this course and still continuing to crash, as I've basically been crashing pretty much throughout this run. But in any case, it's still a run regardless of the circumstances, and obviously regardless of how fucky-wucky it may be, I'm still managing to set a run of some sort at least. Even then, of course, if obviously this run is terrible. And if I'm in the mood for it, I probably will have to improve on it, but whatever. And yep, this lap time is definitely going to be slower than the one I set in the Focus, because I have been crashing a lot on this run, but I honestly don't care because, well, all I really need to do is just set one run, and yeah, that's about it. So that was the Pikes Peak downhill, in spite of pretty much all the crashing I've been doing on that run. And if I really wanted to, I could easily improve by not crashing as much. But whatever. It's done. Arcade mode is now complete. And surprisingly, it has only taken me just the short space of 2 days of recording to officially complete the arcade mode. But there we go. It is done. Arcade mode is now done. And if we go on to next, you get to see the end credits. Although, unfortunately, because this is the PAL version, we Europeans do not get the arcade mode credits, we only get the simulation mode credits. Because apparently there might be, many will easily be saying to me the NTSC version is better than the PAL version, but well, it has its positives as well as its negatives, so you know, I'm not going to differ, but yeah. So you know, end credits are cool, as I'm just scrolling through these again, and yeah, that is proof. The arcade mode is now complete, and so next time we shall be returning to simulation mode, where we shall be hoping... I'm just yawning, because I'm never fully awake. Next time we shall be returning to the simulation mode, where I shall probably be hoping to complete the endurance events, but until then, stay tuned for more GT2.